All right, let's continue with Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. So, all right, so we learned last time how everybody loves Siddhartha and how he looked like kind of like royalty. We all know someone that's like this, the guy that's on the soccer team but also has the best grades, and everybody looks at them and they look like a god. Or you think of Brad Pitt or someone like this, or maybe Shah Rukh Khan or someone like this, who looks like a god. Everybody loved Siddhartha, and when they saw him, they were happy. Govinda, his friend, has said that he wants to be with Siddhartha all the time, and that they are not going to be a normal Brahmin priest, but they are going to be something special. But Siddhartha himself was not happy. Siddhartha himself, this himself here, reflects that others are happy, but he is not. They are all happy, but I myself am not happy. I'm comparing. I myself am not happy. Siddhartha himself wasn't happy. Wandering along the rosy paths of the fig garden, sitting in contemplation in the bluish shade of the grove, washing his limbs in the daily bath of atonement, offering the sacrifices in the depths of the shady mango wood with complete grace of manner, beloved by all, a joy to all, there was yet no joy in his own heart. So you see how we're counting out things here. We're going, and this, and this, and this. So Hesse wants to show that Siddhartha has everything going for him. Everybody loves him. Everything he does is wonderful. Yet there's no joy in his heart. So let's look at how he describes Siddhartha. Wandering along the rosy paths of the fig garden. So he's using an adjective, rosy, for the paths. So he's wandering along these paths in the garden. You can picture it. This is visual. It's a fig garden. I don't even know what a fig garden looks like, but they're figs. But he's wandering along these rosy paths. Sitting in contemplation. Remember we talked about contemplation, it's like meditation. Sitting in contemplation in the bluish shade of the grove. So we've gone from rosy to now bluish shade. Maybe it's a different time of day, or maybe the grove, the green grass and the shadows make it bluish. Bluish means kind of blue. Sitting in contemplation in the bluish shade of the grove. Washing his limbs in the daily bath of atonement. Atonement is a Christian term or Jewish term. It means to, atonement means to come into oneness with God again after being separated. A lot of times this is the idea of sin. Throughout the day, your sin takes you away from God, and then the Brahmins would wash and do the sacrifices, and that would bring them to oneness with God again. This is showing what he does every day as a Brahmin. He's a perfect Brahmin. Offering sacrifices in the depths of the shady mango wood. So now we're in a mango wood. He's offering sacrifices like the Brahmins had to do, with complete grace of manner. Now we're talking about grace again. This is, again, we hear this. What else about him? He's beloved by all. Everyone loves him. If you're loved, you're beloved. You are beloved because other people love you. A joy to all. There was yet no joy in his own heart. We don't usually talk this way. This is usually in literature. We would say, yet there was no joy in his own heart. But here it says, there was yet no joy in his own heart. So up to this point, yet, there's no joy in his own heart. Right? So he's not happy. Dreams and restless thoughts came flowing to him from the river. From the twinkling stars at night, from the sun's melting rays, dreams and restless thoughts are coming from all of these. Dreams and a restless soul, dreams and a restlessness of the soul came to him, arising from the smoke of the sacrifices, emanating from the verses of the Rig Veda, the holy book, the first holy book of Hinduism that he's reading from, trickling through the teachings of the old Brahmins. Everything he looks at, dreams and restlessness come to him. Have you experienced this in your life? I think you have. Maybe you are 18 years old or 17 years old, or maybe you remember being that age, when all of a sudden you're not so happy being at home anymore. There's a restlessness in you. You have trouble staying still. Everything you see reminds you that you want to go away. Even though you love everyone around you, you're not exactly happy. Well, it seems like Siddhartha is going through this. Siddhartha has his whole life ahead of him as a Brahmin, and yet he's not happy with this. Maybe you can relate. Maybe when you see that person at school, the perfect person, or at work, maybe you would think, maybe they're a little restless. Maybe they're not happy with the role they're playing. Okay. Siddhartha had begun to feel the seeds of discontentment within him. The seeds of discontentment. What do seeds do? They get planted in the ground and then they grow, right? These are seeds of discontentment. So they're planted and they start to grow within him, like he's a garden, right? So Siddhartha has begun to feel these seeds of discontentment within him. He had begun to feel that the love of his father and mother, and also the love of his friend Govinda, would not always make him happy. Let me push this down so that we can look at it all together. He had begun to feel, this means to think, and to also feel, kind of to think, but it's your whole body, you're feeling this way. He begun to feel that the love of his mother and father, and also the love of his friend Govinda, would not always make him happy, give him peace, satisfy and suffice him. What does suffice mean? Have you heard the word sufficient? Sufficient, it means enough. So the love of his mother and father and his friend Govinda wouldn't be enough for him. He wanted something else. That's a tough place to be, right? It's scary. So he's at in English we would say he's at a crossroads. He walks up to this road and he can go multiple directions and he has to pick one. There's a famous poem by Robert Frost that says he's walking along in the wood and he comes to a break in the road. One side, one path was one that a lot of people had walked on. A lot of people had walked, maybe it was very wide, but he took the other path, the road that was less taken, that was taken less than other roads. And he said that made all the difference in his life. Well, Siddhartha is at this as well. He's at this crossroads. What does he need to do here? He needs to choose. Okay? So Siddhartha had begun to suspect, he had become suspicious and thought, maybe this is the truth. He had begun to suspect that his worthy father and his other teachers, the wise Brahmins, had already passed on to him the bulk and best of their wisdom. That they had already poured the sum total of their knowledge into his waiting vessel. And the vessel was not full. His intellect was not satisfied. His soul was not at peace. His heart was not still. This is how Hesse writes. He says his vessel wasn't full. His intellect wasn't satisfied. His soul was not at peace. His heart, all these different parts of him are not at peace. It's somewhat of a way of using language, but it's also showing the different parts of him that were not satisfied, that he was fully unsatisfied. What is he suspecting here? He's beginning to become suspicious. Maybe you work at a job. You love this job at the beginning. Your bosses seem so intelligent. And then one day you think, I don't think they know anymore. They've taught me everything and there's nothing more for me to learn. What happens? You start to think about getting another job. Well, here's where Siddhartha is. He begins to think that the Brahmins are the most intelligent. They are the scientists. They are the academics. He begins to suspect that they already gave him the best of their wisdom. And that like he's a vessel, like this is a vessel. Okay, anything that holds other things. It's a vessel that holds water. Well, they filled him, but he still has some left. He's not satisfied, right? They already poured all this knowledge into him, and he suspects they don't have any more knowledge. And he's still not satisfied. The ablutions, the washing, the ablutions were good, but they were water. They were just water. They were just physical. They didn't wash his sins away. He still felt his sins. They didn't wash his sins away. They did not relieve the distressed heart. He still had stress, and distress means that he's a little bit sad and uneasy. He's distressed. The sacrifices and the supplications, that's supplications like, please, please give me this, please, please. That's a supplication. The sacrifices and the supplications of the gods were excellent, meaning to the gods. But were they everything? Did the sacrifices give happiness? And so again, the ablutions were good, but really they're just water. They didn't touch him inside, really. The sacrifices are good, the gods are good, but they don't seem to touch him inside. And what about the gods? Was it really Prajapati who had created the world? This is a god who had created the world. Did he really create the world? So he's now questioning the gods. Was it not Atman, he alone, who created it? Remember, Atman is the self, but Atman in the greater, yourself, your Atman, is part of the larger Atman, the world soul. And he believes this is the greatest. Atman is the greatest, not these gods. That the gods themselves come from Atman, just like he comes from Atman. So was it not Atman, he alone, that created it? Were not the gods forms? Were not the gods, see this plural apostrophe, meaning multiple gods? Were not the gods forms created like me and you, mortal and transient? Mortal meaning not, you don't live forever. Transient means that you pass away, you die, or you pass. So now he's beginning to think that the gods maybe aren't enough either. Can you see how this would make you sad? Like nothing's going to satisfy you. To whom else should one offer sacrifices? To whom else should one pay honor? But to him, Atman, the only one. And where was Atman to be found? Where did he dwell? Where did his eternal heart beat? If not within the self, in the innermost, in the eternal, which each person carried with him. So we can see the gods, we see their statues, but really they're not the greatest. Atman is the greatest. But where do you find Atman? He's inside, but how do you touch him or talk to him? He's outside, but how do you talk to him? Isn't he in the self? Everyone carries him, but he goes on. Where was this self? Where is this innermost? How do you get there? It's not flesh and bone, meaning physical, like us. It's not flesh and bone. It's not even thought and consciousness. It's not even the words you say. It's not even the thoughts you think. It's not even your knowledge that you're alive, consciousness. That's not Atman. That's what the wise men taught. The wise men taught that Atman was beyond all the gods, beyond all the sacrifices. So where was it? To press towards the self, towards Atman. Was there any other way that was worth seeking? Isn't this the greatest thing you could do? This is the greatest thing you could do, right? But no one showed the way. Nobody knew it. Nobody knew this way. Neither his father, nor the teachers and wise men, nor even the holy songs. None of them knew the way to Atman. The Brahmins and their holy books knew everything, everything. They had gone into everything. Here's all the things that they had gone into: the creation of the world, the origin of language, of speech, food, inhalation, exhalation, the arrangement of the senses, the acts of the gods. They knew a tremendous number of things. But was it worthwhile knowing all of these things if they did not know the one important thing, the only important thing? What is this most important thing? It is Atman. So Atman is almost like if you put salt in this water. Will you see the salt after it's in here? No, it will dissolve. But when you drink it, you'll taste it. Right? Atman is like that salt. He infuses everything, and you can taste that he's there. You can experience him, but you can't seem to get a hold of him and touch him. Right? You have to experience Atman. You can't even find Atman in your thoughts. So this is a very difficult concept, but you can see that Siddhartha wants something, and the greatest thing is to find Atman, and he's not happy unless he finds this. We could almost say the meaning of life. He can't find the meaning of life, and he wants this. So we're going to talk next time. I'm going to step away from this and talk about what is Atman, what is Brahman, what are the Upanishads. We're going to talk about this and what is Satya, in order to understand this a little bit better. Okay, so we got through this, but there are probably things that you don't understand. Maybe it's how it's written. Okay, add comments here. Make sure to like and subscribe and share this with others. Maybe we can all learn together. Share it with friends that might want to learn this at the same time. Maybe you need to learn this for school. And comment, and then hit us up on RJK English and let's discuss it. We can discuss it even further. We can go through how it's written and why he writes it like that. All right? So I'll see you next time. We're going to discuss what exactly all these things are. All right? See you.